According to research published in Personality and Individual Differences, low emotional intelligence predicts relationship failure and career instability more strongly than low IQ. Meaning this, you can be smart, talented, even successful, and still quietly destroy your own life without knowing why. And here's the uncomfortable question that pulls you in. If emotional intelligence is invisible, how would you even know if you're missing it? Let's walk through 6 signs, slowly, because one of them tends to hide inside the next. The first sign shows up in emotional regulation. People with low emotional intelligence don't lack feelings. They drown in them. They react before they understand. Anger feels like truth. Anxiety feels like prophecy. Yale's Center for Emotional Intelligence found poor emotional regulation leads to higher conflict and impulsive decisions. But here's the savage irony. They often say, "I'm just being real." Unregulated emotion is like driving at night with high beams on. You feel powerful, but you're actually blinding yourself. And the question quietly forms, if emotions are in control, who's actually thinking? That leads to the second sign, cognitive rigidity. Low emotional intelligence struggles to update beliefs. Once they decide who's wrong, that story becomes sacred. Studies in cognitive psychology link rigid thinking with poor emotional problem solving. They don't ask, "What's my part in this?" They ask, "How do I prove I'm right?" Here's the paradox. The mind becomes a courtroom instead of a laboratory. And when curiosity dies, growth follows shortly after. So if the mind won't bend, what happens to self-awareness? The third sign is low meta-awareness. They feel emotions intensely but don't understand their origin. They know that they're angry, not why. Psychologists describe meta-awareness as the ability to observe your inner world without being consumed by it. Without it, emotions turn into accusations. A hard line most people never hear. When you don't understand your emotions, they start controlling the narrative of your life. And that raises a deeper question. If you don't see your patterns, how could you ever change them? Which brings us to attachment patterns. Low emotional intelligence often confuses attachment wounds with personality. Avoidance becomes independence. Clinginess becomes loyalty. Attachment theory research shows unresolved attachment shapes how people love, argue, and leave. They want closeness but panic when it arrives. Savage truth, they're starving for connection while flinching at emotional intimacy, like touching fire and calling it warmth. So if relationships keep breaking, is it bad luck or repetition wearing different faces? The fifth sign is self-sabotage, disguised as identity. Same arguments, same outcomes, same emptiness. A longitudinal study in Journal of Personality shows low emotional intelligence predicts repeated self-sabotaging behaviors across years. Yet it's framed as, "This is just who I am." Here's the uncomfortable paradox. If chaos feels familiar, peace feels suspicious. They protect the old identity, even when it keeps hurting them, which leads to a brutal question. Who are you loyal to? Your growth or your past? The final sign is outsourcing responsibility for the inner world. Everyone else is too sensitive, too dramatic, too difficult. Low emotional intelligence treats accountability like an attack. High emotional intelligence treats it like data. The savage irony here is unforgettable. The people most afraid of blame are often running from self-reflection. And once you see this pattern, you can't unsee it. If you're still listening, notice something important. Discomfort didn't make you leave. That's not weakness, that's awareness. And if reflections like this slow your scrolling instead of speeding it up, you'll probably want to stay around, not for motivation, but for clarity. So here's the identity question that matters most. When life challenges you, do you get defensive or do you get curious? Because emotional intelligence isn't about being calm or perfect. It's about being brave enough to observe yourself honestly, even when the truth stings. If you see yourself as someone who grows instead of repeats, who values awareness over ego, then keep choosing reflection over reaction. That choice doesn't change everything at once, but it quietly changes who you become.